Hello everyone, and today I will be taking a look at some of Drag Race's most underrated competitors. These competitors could be underrated for really any number of reasons. It could be the fanbase's perception of them, it could be the edit, or it could just be that something they did completely overshadowed how they did in the competition. First up is Jeremy Carey, who is underrated both because of the edit and because of the two very prominent challenges they flopped at the beginning and end of their run on the season. Episode 1 is a talent show where Jeremy flops, but she is ultimately saved, bringing us to Snatch Game. Having watched back her performance for this video, I think she had a very underrated Snatch Game and kind of just got unlucky with who she was up against. We have Katya and Alaska, who are both incredibly hilarious. Then we have Alyssa, who is just all around iconic, and Jeremy's good, solid, high performance kind of fades to the background. I'm not going to make the argument that she should have won, especially with her runway, but I think this is a very underrated glow-up. Her Lady Gaga was, for lack of a better phrase, god-awful, and but her All-Stars 2 Snatch Game was genuinely good. This was a good performance that would have had a legitimate shot at winning if she had been in multiple other Snatch Games. Next is the Rusical, where Jeremy not only does a great job in the challenge, he also does a great job on the runway. I don't know why this look isn't talked about as much as it is. I absolutely love it. It is one of the coolest things anyone had worn on the runway up until that point, or since. This was a great performance on Jeremy's part, and if I were judging the season, I would genuinely consider putting him in the top 2 for this challenge. While the role he got was ever so slightly one note, Jeremy still did a great job with the lip sync, did a great job on the runway, actually had a costume matching the role, unlike some people, and this is a great performance that just never got the recognition it deserved. Next up is the acting challenge, and this is probably the only time that the mistreatment was so egregious that even the fanbase, who did not like Jeremy at this point, still acknowledged that, yes, he deserved better. Factoring in the runways and challenge performances of Jeremy, Alaska, and Detox, Jeremy is the clear winner of this challenge and 100% deserved to win that lip sync. I think the only reason Jeremy did not win this lip sync is that production had the mirror twist planned and did not want to risk Jeremy and Alyssa having their fight on the stage instead of in the workroom. Not only was Jeremy robbed of 10K, but throughout the season, he was robbed by the edit of an actual redemption from the fans. Based off everything we've seen after the show, Jeremy was a genuinely great person who just kinda got thrown under the bus by the edit and never got the recognition he deserved. Next up, from season 13, we have Olivia Lux. The endgame for Olivia on Drag Race was not good by really any metric. She was in the bottom 2 in the Makeover and Acting Challenge, and then the bottom 3 for Snatch Game, the Advertising Challenge, and the Roast. Personally, would have put her as safe in the Advertising Challenge. I don't want to take away from the fact that she did not do good in the ending portion of this season. That said, prior to these episodes, she was doing a great job in the competition, and I don't think that is talked about enough. Throughout the entire season, production was pushing Simone as the one to beat. She won the first 2 challenges. A lot of people viewed her as their strongest competition, and with good reason. Winning the first 2 challenges back to back had never been done before, and I don't want to take away from Simone, but looking at this early portion of the season, Olivia was keeping pace with Simone. In episodes 4 and 5, Simone had built up a bit of a lead, but looking at the track records, in episodes 6, 7, and 8, Olivia is actually able to close that gap, actually becoming the frontrunner in episode 8. All that to say, for the first half of the season, Olivia was a great competitor, and I think that very much got overshadowed by how badly she did in the later portion of the season. Even though she was not doing great in the end portion of the season, I still think she's underrated because all of her good performances got overshadowed by how badly she flopped in the end. She had a great start, and I think that is very regularly forgotten by the fanbase. Next up, from All Stars 4, we have Naomi Smalls. If you ask the average Drag Race fan what they remember Naomi for on All Stars 4, the answer will probably be A. Adrenaline, B. Club 96, C. Eliminating Manila, or D. Life's Not Fair. All of these moments are incredibly iconic, and I don't want to take away from that, but outside of these moments, I think Naomi is a very underrated competitor. Episodes 1 through 4, Naomi had an incredibly underrated start that I don't think is talked about enough. due to the fact that all-star casts are usually very stacked and the fact that all-star seasons are so short. It is very difficult to have 4 consecutive episodes where you do legitimately great. Episode 1 is the talent show where she is a solid third behind Mo and Gia. Episode 2 is girl groups where she is a solid third behind Monet and Valentina. Episode 3 is Snatch Game where she is second behind only Trinity. She deserves to be in the top here, this was great. Episode 4 she was safe, but honestly, I would put her in the top 2 over someone like Manila or Valentina. I think her runway was a very unique take on the theme, and she was incredibly funny in the challenge. After having a few weak performances in the design challenge and the roast, Naomi comes back swinging, gets her first win in the makeover, and she solidifies herself as a Drag Race legend. Getting rid of Manila saves her in episode 5, so she moves on to the finale, and while she does ultimately place 4th, if she had been judged fairly all season, I believe she would be going into this finale with legitimate win equity. She would have won at bare minimum Snatch Game in the makeover, maybe even the improv challenge. She would have a great verse in Super Queen and a great final runway. Naomi is incredibly underrated, and if the season had played out a bit differently, I think there's a very reasonable universe where she ends up taking home the crown. Next up from season 15, and please hear me out on this, we have Lucy LaDuca. Lucy LaDuca is a queen whose competitive performance got completely overshadowed by the insane edit she got. Looking back at her challenge performances a year later, Lucy very reasonably could have won 4 challenges. Her Joan Rivers was great and she deserved to win Snatch Game. Her 50-50 interview was very fun, and while I wouldn't give her the win over Lux, it was still a great job. Her comedy challenge was great and she deserved the win with Lux. Then in the Rusical, while her runway is on the weaker side, let's be honest, runways really only matter when production wants them to. Personally, I would not give her the win over someone like Anitra or Mistress, but I would not fault a person for saying that she deserved to win. Looking at her weaker performances, she never really did too terribly. Her talent show was not good, but it was iconic and her runway was good. While it was close in the Lollapalooza, she did end up beating Spice. Then for her ball, this was not a good performance by any means, but looking at all of the bad ball performances we've seen, she really didn't do that badly. Then we have the 2 times Lucy was actually in the bottom, and neither one is deserved. While the Rusical should have been a top 2, even if it wasn't, Lucy was not in the bottom 2. Then for the makeover, Lucy did a great job and kind of just got Cheryl Hold. All this to say, Lucy was just a generally underrated competitor. I think the main thing that screwed Lucy was the fact that the time she was doing the best in the competition was the same time the fans hated her the most. Finishing out this list, from season 9 we have Sasha Velour. I know that 4 days ago I literally just put out a video talking about how Sasha didn't really gain momentum until the end, and while that is true, looking at the big picture of her performance, she was a very underrated competitor. For the first 7 episodes of the season, she was not doing badly, but she was not doing great. She had a win and 2 high placements, but she was also safe 3 times and low once. While that could be worse, there is definitely room to improve. Looking at the track records after episode 7, Shea Coulee was in first, Valentina was second, Alexis Michelle was third, and Trinity and Sasha were tied for 4th. Once again, it's not bad by really any metric, but not the greatest. I talked about Sasha's final 4 episodes a lot a few days ago, but just looking at it, she got 3 high placements and a win. She gained a lot of momentum in the competition, and to make things even better for her, Alexis and Valentina started flopping, and Trinity just kinda lost all momentum. Looking at the big picture of Sasha's track record, I think she was very underrated. While in those first 7 episodes, she was still kind of struggling. She really found her footing in those final 4 episodes. She gained a pretty sizable lead over Trinity, and actually ended up tying with Shea in episode 10. In the end, Sasha's track record ended up being 1 point behind Shea. I will fully admit that Sasha won the season in the lip sync for the crown, but looking at the track records, I think this finale was a lot closer between Sasha and Shea than a lot of people realize. Also, I'm going to throw this in here now. Thank you all for 1 year. This is the last video I'm putting out before my channel's 1 year anniversary, and I really appreciate all of you. Do you want non-Emmy nominated gay shit? Well then you should check out the RuPaul's Drag Race Rejudged YouTube channel and hit subscribe.